like when you're saying chutia, just say it like with feeling. Don't say chutia. Like, what the fuck? Hello, and welcome to a new video. My name is Smriti, and if you know me at all, I hope you do. If you don't, then hello. But anyway, I love reading books and I love reading mysteries and thrillers, but I also love to read books from my home country, which is India. So, in this video, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be reading 3 books which are mysteries and thrillers but written by Indian authors. So, those 3 books which I will be reading, you will see the vlog of my thoughts, are Legal Fiction by Chandan Pandey, translated by Bharat Bhushan Tiwari from Hindi, then Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor, and Black River by Nilanjana S. Roy. All these 3 books I will be talking to you about, and I will be telling you my thoughts on them based on the 5 criteria that I think is like super critical to a thriller or mystery, and those 5 criteria you can see here. But essentially I will be rating them from the scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, on plot, characters, writing, suspense, and pacing. Yes, those are the 5 things that I think are critical to any thriller or mystery book, and I will be telling you my thoughts on all 3 of them. So that's super exciting. I hope that you enjoy, and now off you go to hear my thoughts on all of these books in the past. Okay. Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome to a new video where I am reading this book right now. It is Legal Fiction by Chandan Pandey, and it is a book that had a lot of like people talking about it when it first came out, I think in 2021, because I think it was inspired by true events that did take place. Now, I'm not trying to Google what those true events are because I don't know what it is, and I don't want to get spoiled for whatever might come into this book. But I'm already about like 78 pages in, which is quite like a chunk full. And yeah, it's interesting. Essentially, we're following this guy called Arjun Kumar, who is married in Gurgaon, and he's like a writer, works in like a publishing house or something, and he gets a call from his ex named Anusaya, who has like her husband who has gone missing. Now, she married a Muslim man and she is Hindu, so her family isn't like speaking with her, so she really doesn't have anyone else to turn to, so she calls this guy up, and she's like scared because like the police isn't filing an FIR, and like she doesn't know what's going on. So he decides to what is his name, yeah, Arjun decides to go to the small town in I think UP or Bihar where they are, and like try to help her out like during this whole situation. So yeah, so far what I've read is that he's gotten to this town. He has figured out that there's definitely something like iffy with the town, and because like, you know, they aren't filing an FIR. There is another girl that has gone missing who's a Hindu girl named Janki, and they've spoken about like her going missing in the newspapers, but they haven't said anything about Rafiq who's gone missing. And yeah, it just seems like something is iffy, and we're trying to figure out what exactly has happened. So far it seems good, not great, but not bad either. So let me finish reading like, I don't know, about like 70-ish more pages, and then get back to you with my final thoughts. Hello beauties, so it is later in the day and I have finished reading Legal Fiction by Chandan Pandey, and this was a solid 3-star read, and by that I meant that I liked parts of it but also didn't quite understand / enjoy parts of it. This book, let's talk about it based on my 5 points that I think is critical to a thriller. You know the drill by now, hopefully. First criteria that I want to talk to you about is plot, and for plot I gave this a 6 because it was good because you were trying to understand what exactly was happening, but also at the same point of time I felt like there was a bit lacking. It is 168 pages, so there's not much that can be filled into it. Okay, so this is editing Smriti coming in to just tell you that what I was trying to say is that though this book did speak a lot about like love jihad and about communal violence and politics and the games that people play. It did so only on a very superficial surface level, and I was looking for it to get a little deeper, which it didn't quite. It just hit all these points, but like didn't like show you much more. I've heard that this book has a few sequels coming out as well, so that should be exciting, but I don't know if I'm going to be like super excited to like read them as soon as they come out. Next is characters, and for characters I gave this a 4 because we really didn't understand any of them. We understood the people in terms of what they were doing, but we didn't really understand them as like who they are as people and what are their motivations and what are their thought processes and stuff like that. Just one person's perhaps, which is the main guys, but nothing else was really told. And fine, you can say that it's a 168-page book. How much can you like actually bring out in terms of like characters? And I have seen short books do that in terms of bringing out like characters and motivations and making you understand them and making them memorable, but this just wasn't that for me. And then in terms of writing, I gave this a 7 because it had some good lines in between. I thought that it did a good job. There were certain things that like I tabbed. Okay, so this is one line. It says, people often refuse to look in the mirror because they fear the reflection may show a criminal's face. That's one. There's another one. We often err in understanding whether it is some divine power that begets violence or if it's something only us humans do. So, I mean, there were some lines in between that really stood out. Also, I liked the way that it was written, where we got to understand like this person and their journey through like a day by day sort of thing. So it was divided into 3 days, which is cool. But also, like, we got these diary entries by the guy who went missing, who we were seeing that, and we were trying to like piece together the story. But I feel like just the end didn't come together as well. I wished for something more. The next is pacing. I mean, since it is a 168-page book, there's not much in terms of pacing, so I would give this like a 7 in terms of pacing. It was good, but like not amazing and like, oh my god, I mean, I finished it in a day, so 7. And the suspense, I would give it a 6 because I was wanting to know what happened and I couldn't make like come to a conclusion as to what that was, but ultimately it felt a bit abrupt, and I didn't like that we were sort of just left hanging. Yeah, 6. So this wasn't the best reading experience, but was it the worst? No. So that is something. Meanwhile, I have just put up a video about translated Indian literature. So while this may not have been a huge hit for me, there are many others that you can check out. So I just announced the read-a-thon that we're doing in April, which is in its 6th year. So yeah, just check it out if you want to, and you can check out some other recommendations that I've also put out. And that's all for this book. Now let's move on to the next one. So on Instagram, I put up like a poll because I was confused as to which book I should read next. Should it be Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor or Black River by Nilanjana S. Roy? And till this morning or till this afternoon, people were very confused, and legit, I'll put the thing up here, screenshot, but it was like 62 votes for this one and 62 votes for this one, and I was just like, what is the point of y'all? But then ultimately y'all came through, and I think in the end the votes were 80 votes for Age of Vice and 67 votes for Black River. So Age of Vice clearly won, and I'm excited to read it. It is a chunky boy, but I've heard good things about it. I've heard that it is part of a trilogy, so like the end, I need to understand that it might like leave off at a weird place, which I'm not excited about. But I am okay to get started on it. I also have the audiobook thanks to Libro FM. I am one of their like bloggers. Anyway, yes, Age of Vice. It's basically the story of like this guy. We get to see him get into an accident, and then he runs over like these people who are sleeping on the road, a la Salman Khan. And essentially, we find out that he is the driver of a really famous like politician's son or something like that, or like some businessman's son, I don't know. And yeah, then we get to see like their story, and like it's supposed to do something with like mafia and like I don't know. I will talk to you more once I have figured out what this book is about exactly, but like those are my thoughts in terms of like what I think this book is about right now. So those are my thoughts. I'm gonna go read now, take off this beautiful makeup that I did. I don't know if you can see, but I tried to do like Indian flag colors. So I know. I experiment and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it does not. But I think today paid off. But yes, okay. Next, Age of Vice. Schools. Hello. It is a few days later, and by a few I mean like 5 or 6, and I am still not done with this book. And that by no means means that like I'm not enjoying it. It's just that like I've had a lot happening, okay, in my life, which I usually don't. Like usually I'm just like sitting around at home and reading, but I don't know if I've put up like b-rolls. I'll put b-rolls of like what was happening, but like I had to get like these medical tests done, and like just like yeah, it's really annoying because they like take blood and you can still see like the little thing here. And like 2 times from here also. And yeah, it's just like a lot of stuff, and I've been meeting people which normally I don't do. And yeah, it's just been like a lot going on in my life, which is why I haven't had time to just like sit down and read this book. But it's going really well. Okay, it's going really well. I'm really liking it. We're getting different perspectives, which I didn't think I would get, which is really interesting. So, like, in the first thing, we get the perspective of the driver who was found, like, running over these people and, like, using the car of this guy called Gautam Rathore, who is the son of, like, a politician who's, like, comes from, like, a really wealthy background sort of thingy. And we get to see, like, how he has reached this place in life and how he became like this driver to this person, and how there might be other things kind of going on in the background that like other people don't really know, but like just his journey itself, like Ajay's journey itself, how he came from this really small village and he was sort of like sold into servitude, and like just his journey, it's just so reminiscent of like actual things that happen in India. Like I don't know if like you're a international or someone who's just like I don't know, like lives in a bubble in India, and you don't think that these things actually happen, where like these young boys are sort of like just sold into servitude to various people, and like you know, like what happens to their families and all of that sort of stuff. This is very real. Like this is very real, and it definitely happens. So I think like she's done a great job in terms of like depicting that, and just getting yourself in the head of this one person. So like Ajay is just like one character, and we get through him get introduced to like other characters. And I see what's happening in this book is that like we get the lens of things that have happened from like Ajay's perspective, and now I've just reached part 2 where we get the perspective of this one person called Neda, and that's going to be interesting as well. But yeah, I don't know what's happening, but it seems like there's a lot of like um puppeteering in the back end, and it's leading to some thing going down. And I think that like we'll find out like the whole story once like we see all of these different perspectives sort of coming together and just like sort of understanding why, when, how, and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, so it's interesting. I am going to sit like basically for the next few days I'm just gonna like hunker down and finish this book because one, it is interesting, okay, like I'm not, it's good, and it's well written, and I'm definitely really enjoying the audiobook version of this as well. Would recommend it. But yeah, I don't like the way the audiobook narrator, he is Indian, I'm assuming he is Indian, but the way that he says like some Indian bad words, I'm just like, put some more feel into it, you know, just like when you're saying chutia, just say it like with feeling, don't say chutia, like what the fuck, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, just like, you know, you're like these people are from Delhi and like, you know, they're like gangsters and they're like from UP and like, you know, whatever. I just want like some feel of like, you know, when you're swearing, you have to like anyway. That is the only like thing which I don't quite enjoy about the audiobook. I just wish there was more feel when people swear. That is legit it. But apart from that, it's doing great. And I will come back to you with more updates. But yeah, so far, like a great read. Um, and hopefully it shall get better. I have been told by Anuya, if you guys know Books on Toast, like one of the hosts of Books on Toast, which I had the privilege of working with. So Anuya told me that it gets a little like meh in the middle, and then the end is great as well. So yeah, I'm in the middle now. So let's see how that goes. Hopefully it'll be fine. And then yes, updates. As I said, I will give to you. So far in this vlog for this book, you saw me take so many days to read 175 pages, and then today I read 184 pages in one day, and I feel so proud of myself because like essentially what I did was I sat down and did some calculations yesterday, and I realized that if I want to put out this video on the day that I want to put it out, which is already way later than what I actually wanted to put it out, I would have to read 175 pages a day. So I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like stick to my guns and just like power through. And I read 184 pages. So I feel really happy and like accomplished. But anyway, what happened in those 184 pages, you ask? Well, we got the perspective of this girl called Neda, who is the love interest of a particular character in this book. And essentially all the things that Ajay sort of like saw, we are seeing the same sort of stuff but from her perspective. So like we get a little more information, so like slowly we're peeling more layers of the onion, I guess. But like I didn't think we needed 184 pages for this to be told to us. Like I feel like it could have been done in way less pages, like maybe 60 70 max, you know what I mean? Like 184 pages really is not necessary to like give, like I don't know, I just didn't think that like that was really that necessary. But well, I mean, it's interesting. I'm done with that. Now we get another perspective which should be interesting. So I'm on like part 3 of this book, I think. Is it part 3? Yes, it's part 3 of this book. So that's fun. I have finished reading Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor, and this book was really good. I really enjoyed it. Did I think that it was the best thing ever? No. But will I read the next book that comes out in this trilogy, I think? Yes, of course I will. I want to know what happens, and as Anuya had rightly pointed out, this did leave off in like this sort of shocking manner where you were just like, okay, what's happening? So yeah, I can't wait to read the next book. But let us talk about what I thought about this book with my criteria that I have. So the first criteria should be plot. So with plot, I'm going to give this a solid 8. Why I'm not giving it a higher ranking or rating is because I felt like a lot of it was repeated, as I have said previously. Like the middle part did slog just a teensy weensy bit. I felt like that could have been done better, but just in terms of all the sort of things that they covered, in terms of like the mafia, the politics, the business, and the ruthlessness, and all of that sort of stuff, combined with the idea of like all of these different characters and how I don't know, fucked up they are actually. It was just an interesting time to read, and it was a good plot, and I feel like it's gonna get even better. In terms of characters, I felt like there were some characters that were way better done than the others. So for characters, I'm gonna give it an 8. Again, I really liked how like characters like Ajay were put out, or we got to see all of these different sort of people from like all walks of life, and like be it people in the jail, or be it people who were part of like Sunny's life, or like, you know, just generally, like there were just a lot of people who were sort of involved in this, and like there were a bunch of characters, but some characters were way better like thought out than the others, which is totally fine. But I just also found the character of Sunny to be like really annoying. Like I get that he's gone through stuff, all right, I get that he's gone through stuff, but I was just like, in my head I was like, stop whining, you know, like just stop it. uh which is like, I mean, it's a bit of a pill to swallow for myself, because I whine a lot too, so like why am I like annoyed by him? But maybe I was annoyed at him because I was annoyed at me. Therapy. Anyway, next is writing, and for writing, I'm gonna give it a 8.5. I thought that it was very well written. I really liked everything that she sort of did, and like I think that she is a tremendous writer. This is not her debut novel. I think she's written before, but like this is her first big novel. So yeah, 8.5 definitely does make sense for me in terms of ranking for her writing. As for pacing, I'm going to give it a 7, because, as I said, the middle did fall just a little bit. I felt like the beginning and then the end did a really good job in terms of not only the pacing, but also like all of these different sort of characters, etc. That was really good. But I felt like the middle, which was like Neda's perspective, sort of lost my interest there. And then in terms of suspense, I'm going to give it a 8.5 as well, because like I just thought that it was good, it was suspenseful, I wanted to know what was going to happen next, and I was generally like hooked to see what happens. And I am, as I said, excited to read the next book that's going to come out in this series, I think. And this is going to be made into like a TV series as well. It was like auctioned to be made into a TV series even before the book came out, or like she finished writing the book, which I think is like really freaking insane. And kudos to Deepti Kapoor for like swinging that. That's freaking amazing. But yeah, I can't wait to like watch this TV series as well. I think that it's going to be like really gritty and like amazing, and maybe like sort of Patal Loki slash Gangs of Vasipuri slash, I don't know. I haven't seen any of these things that I've literally just mentioned. So, yeah, I'm just talking out of my ass right now. But I'm excited that I finished this book, and now I'm going to move on to the next one, which is Black River, which I don't know anything about. So let me read a little bit of it first, and then get back to you with thoughts and hello, I thought I would take you to a different location because we have always been in my room, but I thought I would let you know that I am about maybe halfway through Black River. You can't see it because I've taken out the cover because I'm not a weirdo to read the hardcover with the jacket on. I don't know. Are you a person who reads with the jacket on? Because that's just uncomfortable. But I'm getting away from the point. The point is, I am halfway through this and it's going very fast, and I'm really enjoying it. I think that the writing is really like atmospheric and like well written. Like you can clearly see that she has written a lot and she writes well, which is great. Though I have not read anything from her before, but I've heard like that she's great. But I can tell as well. Anyway, this is basically a story which has a lot of trigger warnings, so I would suggest that you like look them up before you read them. But like, trigger warnings include death of a child, murder, um, sexual assault, but not like quite on the page. Um, and just a lot of like lynching, killing sort of stuff, which is just like typical things that happen in like the rural India, because this essentially is about this family of sorts who lives in a place called Tirathpur, which is about 2 hours away from Delhi. I don't know if it's an actual real place. I haven't googled that yet, but yeah, essentially we are following um this young kid who is murdered, and then we are figuring out who has done this. But also through this we get to understand more about like the village and the politics and the culture and just generally how people view things. So like in the beginning we got an understanding of like how exactly the thing happened. Like, so we see that she is dead, but we don't know who did it, even though we get the perspective of it happening. So we see that. But also, we see more about the father, Chand, who is a single father, and like it's just really like heartbreaking to read about and stuff as well. But yeah, I just think that so far Nilanjana Roy has done an excellent job. And I was a little confused as to why, like, there was this one whole part where we jumped to like just understanding like Chand and where he came from and why he left his village and went to Delhi and blah blah blah. I was just like, why are we going through this whole thing? But like, I guess there is a reason. It was probably to introduce like other characters, etc., etc. But it's fine. It's good. I'm really enjoying it. So let's see where I land on it soon. I think I should be able to finish this by today. I do have a lot of stuff to do, and I am tired as shit. So I am going to try to finish it today, but if not, then tomorrow, because I am saying this for like the 50 millionth time now. I'm liking this and it's going by fast. So yay! Okay. Alright, so it's a few days later and I have finished reading Black River by Nilanjana S. Roy, and I have to say that I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a brilliantly done book and I wish more people read it, so let this be your impetus to do that. I thought that the plot was really good. I thought that everything that it had to say in terms of not only this like solving a murder, but also giving you an idea of what it's like to live in India currently with all of like its communal stuff, and yeah, just general all the hatred that's flying around in our country right now. It just gave you a flavor of that, and it did it really well. So in terms of my criteria, so first is plot. I thought the plot was really well done. We had this heinous murder that took place, and then after that, while we are solving that, we also get like an understanding of how not only does investigation sort of take place in a rural part of our country with like the cops, etc., but also with other things that were happening around and how like people of that village may react. It seemed very like on point. So for plot, I'm going to give it an 8.5. Next comes characters. I thought that characters were also very well done. We weren't just told about the main people who were affected by this crime, like the father, but also of the other people. So for example, I really liked the way that the cops were described. So there were two cops in the village in Tirathpur who were described really well, and just like I really liked how we got their perspective, and just generally got to understand how they would behave, but also like his other friends, like there's this person called Rabia, and just generally I really liked these people and I got a feel for them completely, and I just thought that it was like just very well executed. So yeah, so that's characters, in terms of writing, I'm going to give this a 9, because I just felt like this was the right amount of like pages, you know, like we were hooked with regards to who did the murder, but we also got to understand so much more about like the people and the place. The writing was not only like well written, but also it was like simplistic enough for like anyone to sort of pick it up. And generally I thought that like not only being simplistic, it also gave you a bit of like philosophy and like an understanding of things. And like it like the dialogue also just felt like real. So I think that takes a lot of skill, and I really like that, so I'm going to give it a 9. With regards to pacing, again, I'm going to give this a 9. It was brilliantly paced. I went through this book really, really fast. It's not that sort of book where every chapter sort of leaves at the cliffhanger or something like that, that you need to know what's happening, but generally it just felt like a smooth sort of reading. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and like I didn't feel like reading this was a chore by any circumstance, which is why I think the pacing was good. And like, yeah, it just didn't have anything that was like unnecessary in my thought process. So yeah, so that's 9. And with regards to suspense, I'm going to give this a 7, because in my mind I had figured out who I think would have been the murderer, but there were lots of like red herrings where I was like confused, where I was like, was this person really it? Could it be this other person? Could it be a person related to this person? You know? So yeah, I just was confused all around, and I thought that like it still did a great job, but like it could have been maybe a little more suspenseful, but I still really, really enjoyed my time reading this book. So yeah, overall, as you can see, my thoughts and feelings for this book were very, very positive. I would recommend this book for a lot of people, and just like would wholeheartedly, yeah, would wholeheartedly recommend it. I thought that it was a very well done book. If you are looking for a book that has a lot of like twists and turns and all of that sort of stuff, this is not going to be it. It's more of like a social commentary with like a mystery of sorts. And that's really what this book was, and I thought that those two things put together really like worked for me personally. So yeah, that's that. In terms of overall rankings, I think that don't fall. Oh, it fell. Books fell, sorry. So yeah, so I think Black River was in number 1 place for me, followed shortly behind by Age of Vice. I thought that this was a really good book, but it could have been brought down just a teensy bit. But yeah, I look forward to reading more books by Deepti Kapoor in this series as well. And then of course there is legal fiction. More books are falling. This was very average for me. I thought that it was okay and it was trying to do something, but it didn't quite get there. So this is not a book that I would wholeheartedly recommend, but the other two were big winners for me. So yeah, that is the end of this vlog. If you enjoyed it, I do hope that you give this a big thumbs up, and recommend down in the comments some of your Indian thriller mystery books that you like or that you would recommend. I hope that you check out any of these books as well, because, well, hopefully you check them out because of my recommendation. And if you don't know what to comment, then you can comment like a river emoji or any like water-ish emoji for that. Check out some other videos where I have ranked and like rated some other thriller books of various different like themes. And that's all for today. I will see you in my next video coming to you very, very soon. Take care, and I hope you all are doing super duper well.